Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. I am Beth Roy, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, coming to you from the U.S. And I am so excited that you guys could join me for a Facebook Live. So I'm just pulling up my video so I can keep track of comments. If you come in, say hi, and let me know where you're coming from. And let's see, what else? What is going on with everyone? My week has been pretty nice, and I know my page has been a little sparse this week because I have taken a lot of time to spend with friends and family, and I only had one class day where I worked in my studio. And so I had a lot of bits and pieces. So I'm going to show you a card that I finally finished. I was using the Celebrate Sunflower set and some other sets, and I wanted to do some fall themes. I love making fall cards. I use them a lot as thank yous, but if somebody has a fall birthday or a fall wedding, you can make a lot of cute cards that go way beyond Thanksgiving and Halloween. So sometimes I like to just think in general themes. What can fall apply to, not just the holidays that happen. So we're going to use the Celebrate Sunflowers today. I love the stamp set. Good morning, Vicki. And I wanted to use it. We've had this, I think this is for a couple years now we've had this. And I think people kind of forget about it. It's in the annual catalog. It does have a die set that you can get to go with it. And so I want to play with it today. And so this is Choose Your Card Adventure. So I don't have a ton of choices. I'm sorry. I decided not to use Designer Series paper and just kind of keep it simple today. So our choices are going to be mainly how to color our sunflower. But I am going to show you my card that I made. I finished it up this morning. I've been working on it a little bit all week. And I want to show you that. So it's going to be Celebrate Sunflowers, plus I'll show you the other sets because I just piled everything on in, you know, Beth true fashion of how I create. And I want to show you that because I do love busy cards, but today we're going to take it down a notch and do some really simple things. Good morning, Jenny. So let's see. Good morning, well, Lisa, it's evening for you. Hello, thanks for joining us. Sometimes I see them on my phone and sometimes I have to look over here. My devices don't always work with me. So thank you everyone for joining me. It's Saturday morning for me, and I didn't sleep in today, but I am still lounging. I am not ready to really go out and greet the world just yet, but I'm going to here with you. So let's see, let's point down. Let me show you the card that I made that I've been working on all week. I've just done bits and pieces, and then we're going to see how you want to do the card this morning. I've been showing you lots of different ways to add color to our outline stamps. So this past week I had Wednesdays are my class day, and we did a blends class and we did dot coloring. So we can do blends, we can continue learning with pencils and blender pens or the water painters, or we can use our ink pads. So it's going to be totally up to you. And so start thinking about that because we are going to make a simple card, but we're going to make it just as beautiful with how we color it and add color. So let's point down and we'll get busy. Okay, here we go. So what are y'all drinking this morning? I am on my second cup of coffee. Just trying to I'm gonna wait for a second and then get myself all situated here so you can see me. So I have been wanting to play with this sunflower set. I actually have not played with it that much. I got it. It was part of a big suite, our last annual catalog, and I just honestly have not really played with it that much, but it's a gorgeous detailed stamp. The artists did a wonderful job in giving us all this detail on an outline stamp. And so I decided to play with it. Now, my coloring choice for this card, here's my sunflower, was the ink pads and my water painter. And I did it, this is not watercolor paper, so I did it with not a lot of water. So I kept my water painter pretty dry. So that's something to think about if you're not using watercolor paper. Number one, the colors do not move and blend how they would on watercolor paper because that paper is meant to be saturated and it's just a different texture. But I am out of watercolor paper. Thank you, Jenny. So you might have seen bits and pieces that I shared where I was watercoloring. And this is the Delicate Dahlia set. This is actually the poinsettia petals. I wanted some berries. So if you saw my picture, I went into Hobby Lobby and I was in there for a frame. And needless to say, the flowers and the fall, you know, fake foliage totally drew me in. And I just went through the aisles and picked colors. And I put together a bouquet. Maybe I'll point up and show you that at the end in case you didn't see the picture. It is bold, it is beautiful. I bought, the fall stuff is on sale, so I bought like a milk jug thing to put it in, and I just love it. It's gonna sit on my table. It's kind of big, I'm not sure exactly where I'm gonna put it just yet, but it is so pretty. I was so happy with how it turned out, and I just literally ran through and grabbed things that attracted my eye, which literally could be the whole aisle, but I did pare it down. I was looking for fall. So, this little bird is from Happy Holidays. It's in our mini, so don't miss him. It does have a punch that does like a border with the holly, but I loved this little outline bird, so I grabbed him, and then I used the Delicate Dahlias, which I love this flower. So that's, you can still earn that till September 30th, but be careful, things are selling out. So if there's something that you really want from that celebration brochure, make sure you're placing your orders and getting it in. And then I love this set. This is a set we're going to use next week when I show you how to do multiple holiday cards. And I love this berries. I love winter berries. And so I had, something I grabbed had berries in it. So I grabbed that. And I used my water painters. These are die cut from Basic White. This is the, oh my goodness. Those leaves are called, they're in our annual catalog. They're called Stitched Leaf Dies. And I just die cut those. And I used my water painters and ink pads to blob on color. I didn't care if it was perfect. I just had a lot of fun with it. And these are dies. This has a die. These dies come in the sunflowers. These little wheat, I guess they're sprigs. Hello, Xana. And this is from the new leaf dies, from the Gorgeous Leaves, the set that pairs with this. This little stick is in there. So I just literally went through my dies to see what I had to recreate this lovely bouquet that I gathered for myself at Hobby Lobby. And then I just wanted to add color. So this is actually, I'll show you my color scheme because we will need to choose how we're coloring today and what colors you want to use. So I posted a color scheme. I believe it was Monday. And this is kind of what I came up with. There's a lot of colors in here. So this is what I used on my card. I stamped in Basic Gray for my flowers. I wanted them to have a distinct outline, but I didn't want black. And And then Early Espresso, I used it for my greeting. And I used it here on the middle of my sunflower. Cinnamon Cider, I used on my leaves. So these were my leaves that I just blobbed ink on. I also used just pumpkin pie for this. And I got varying degrees depending on how much water I added with that ink. Now, I didn't use the Calypso Coral. Well, I did, but I didn't cut those flowers out yet. I had a little flower, but my card got too busy, so I put those off to the side. I used So Saffron on my wheat. And Bumblebee, I didn't use, that again was on the flowers that I decided to leave off of this card. And then this is actually Misty Moonlight and Balmy Blue, and my bird is the same colors. Hello, Jarvetta, good morning. So I pulled in a ton of colors, and I was inspired by my flowers that I bought, my bouquet, and I was also inspired by that color combo that I posted. So I just threw on a ton of colors, and I just kept playing and layering. Now I did have a little flower that mimics the flowers in that bouquet that I bought, but I decided my card was really busy and I didn't put those on. Now if I did a slimline card, I would probably add a ton more things. So, but for this size card, it's on a Cinnamon Cider base. And then I just added a piece of basic white to kind of layer everything on. And I didn't want my greeting to cover up all this beautiful layers and just all these little things. So I just used my snips and cut around it. So that was my inspiration and play with this gorgeous stamp set. So today we're going to take it down a notch because doing layers and doing all those things does take a little bit of time, and I didn't want to keep you here all morning because I could work on cards like this for days because I like to lay it aside and add more layers and just continue to play with it. So this morning I decided I wanted to do a crumb cake base, and this is 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. And then I have 2 pieces of basic white. They are 5 inches by 3 3/4, and this is for the inside. Now, crumb cake is light enough that you could just write on this, but I do like to add a layer. I can stamp it, I can color it, I can add to it. So I do have an inside piece, and then I have a scrap strip of my white that I get when I cut my pieces down that we're going to do one of these sentiments. So we'll either do Let's Celebrate You, which is a birthday card, or it could be a wedding, I mean, or a promotion or graduation. So this is congratulations on reaching a whole new level of wonderful. So you could say that to just about anybody. If they get a promotion, maybe they landed a job they weren't sure, they weren't confident of. Maybe you have somebody who graduated, or whatever. You could choose a whole array of things. Now the other one I did thanks a bunch, so we'll do one of these too. And of course you can always pull in other stamps like that say happy birthday, or because I like to do the Let's Celebrate You on birthday cards. So we're going to stamp this, and right now what I need from all of you, I need to know, do you want to use blends? Do you want to use watercolor pencils? And yes, these are limited colors. We do not have all the colors, but we have plenty that can layer with this for a sunflower. Or do you guys want to do the ink pads and the water painter? So we have 3 choices to color. What do you guys want to do? And we're just going to do the sunflower. We're not going to do all these other pieces, but I did want you to see how you could throw that sunflower in with a bunch of other sets and make some really fun cards. Especially if you're like me and you like to die cut a ton of things and really layer it up and play. So we're going to do a little simple stamping on our layer, and then we're going to color it, and then we're going to stamp our greeting, and we're going to fussy cut around it and put it on there. So Jarvetta Votes Blends. And we're doing just the simple sunflower today. Just grabbing some of my blends that would work. So obviously when we watercolor, those colors look a lot different. And I am doing a fall, kind of a fall theme. So my leaves are not going to be green, even though I know a lot of leaves are still green now. If we stamp this leaf, it is going to be fall colors. So I'm trying to see what colors I want. Okay, Jenny Votes Blends. Okay, so I know I've shown a lot of these. And I've shown a lot with the ink pads. It's been a while since I've really done any blends. So, I'm going to pick this color scheme. I've got my Misty Moonlight. Now, I will warn you, Misty Moonlight blends are darker than the Night of Navy. So if you don't like quite this dark, that's fine. The Misty Moonlight, when you watercolor, is a different blue. And obviously we don't have that color in the watercolor pencils. I've grabbed Pumpkin Pie, Calypso, or I'm sorry, not Calypso Coral. I do have Calypso Coral, but Cajun Craze, Cinnamon Cider, and then I grabbed this yellow. I grabbed So Saffron. This does not have a stamp of the wheat. Honestly, I'm not sure if we have a wheat stamp. We probably do in some set that I'm just not, it's not coming to mind. But I have a lot of stamp sets sitting here, so it is possible that we do have one. But I just, Daffodil Delight would also work in this. Now, my sunflower, I did orange. I used to plant a variety of sunflower that was actually this almost like a Cajun Craze color. It's called a Spanish sunflower. And I love that color. So what I need to know from you is, do you want your sunflower to be more orange or yellow? Because if you want more yellow, I'm going to grab Daffodil Delight so we can add yellow. Gather Together set. I don't know if I have that set. I know it sounds impossible sometimes. I'm just going to move a few things off my table that we aren't going to use because it's really crowded over here. Okay, is Gather Together the retired set? Yeah, I don't have either one of those sets. Of course I don't. But if you do, feel free to add some, wheat stamps in there too. I love when the wheat, or whatever that is mixed in. I love that look. So that's why I layer it, because I know I have a die. Okay, Jarvetta says orange, so let's do that. Okay, so now I'm trying to decide, I think I'm gonna stamp an early espresso. So I have all these ink pads over here, but I think I'm gonna do my outline. I don't know. I usually do it in gray, because I just like, and sometimes you gotta, sometimes we gotta be careful. I'm gonna test something here. Sometimes the blends will react with the brown and also Night of Navy. I don't know why that is, but I'm gonna test it out here really quick. I'll put this off to the side. Just gonna grab something really quick. I want to test it, and it's okay to do that. Don't feel like you got to move forward. And so let me. This is how I'm testing it. I'm gonna stamp. Oh my goodness. My spray doesn't want to spray. Pencil. Oh, you know what? I do have that set. Yes. Yes, I do. It's in my retired stash because I loved those pumpkins and stuff. I forgot it had a wheat stamp in there. That's why I said I probably have one that's retired, but I can't think of a current one, and there probably is. I'm just not thinking. So I stamped this in Early Espresso because I want to see if this is going to react when I color over it. Because sometimes it'll draw a little red. So it looks like it's okay. And then test your yellow. Because when you color over something with yellow, the last thing you want is to see. So basically what I did there was I tested it and I wanted to see if it was going to react and pull a red color out. Because I don't want that to happen necessarily on my sunflower. Okay, yeah, and I don't know that I got that set either. So there's lots of choices for things. So let's see. I am going to stamp an Early Espresso. Okay, so we're gonna do, I'm gonna put this to the side and I may color on it as well. And we're gonna do a big, look how big the sunflower is. Now remember, I'm gently pulling that up because I don't want to rip that foam. This is huge. So we can stamp two, like this. We can stamp in the corner and then stamp one up here. You just have to remember, if you're coloring it, it's gonna take more time. So I've put it on my big E-block and I'm going to ink it. And when I have a big stamp like this, I like to turn it upside down and bring my ink to the stamp. Okay, I think I'm going to bring this in just to protect my sheet a little bit from coloring. And I'm just going to do, we're just going to plop it down here. And I'm holding it for just a second. I want that ink to soak in. I want all that detail to be on there. Whoa, that's dark. That's okay. My ink pad's very juicy, so it came out really dark, and that's okay. I'm just inking it again. I'll let that dry for a second. My goodness. So if your ink pad's too juicy, you know that you can take a spoon or something, because it's very juicy. That's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm just gonna let it dry for a second. I'm gonna turn this way You know what? I'm going to show you guys how to make a mask, because I want this to kind of overlap a little bit. So let me grab, we'll just do it right here. I'm going to make a mask out of this. I'm going to stamp this down on my grid paper. It might not be the best choice, but it's what I have near me, so. And I'm just going to cut it out with my scissors. Now this has a die, so you could cut it with the die and then trim it. But when you make a mask, you want it to be right on the line. So I'm going to cut this out real quick. I'm not worried about being perfect, but I am trying to go right on that line because I want to cover up my sunflower in the front. So I can have one that's layered in the back. And usually when you create a mask, you want something pretty thin. So you don't necessarily want to create it out of your cardstock. You can use a Post-it note. You can use, I like to use, like this is grid paper I've been stamping on and it's getting pretty used up. So I have a clean spot and that's what I'm going to use. There's probably other things that, as well. I think they have what they call masking paper. It's sticky and it's very thin, but I don't have any of that, so this is what I'm doing. Yes, Vicki. I know. There's so many sets that I don't get, and it's okay if you don't buy all of them. I try to look and evaluate, like, if I'm going to use an image several times before I decide which sets I want. Sometimes. Look at this set. I love sunflowers, and I've barely used it, so it's time to pull it off the shelf and give it some love. So how many of you have tried masking? Just curious. This is a great technique here, bonus technique for simple stamping. It's a great way to add layers and dimension to your card without actually adding cardstock. It's a little messy creating your mask. It depends on what you're cutting out. That's why I said sometimes it's easier to use the die cut and then trim it a little bit because the die cut really gets in there. But it does have an edge. So if you use your die cut, you're gonna, and you don't trim it all the way down to the line, you are going to have an edge in there for your flower. And we're trying to make it look like it's truly layered. All right, let me clean up my mess here. A little trash can right here. And this is why my space gets so messy sometimes, because all this stuff piles up. Okay, so I'm gonna pull these away. Okay, so we got this sunflower. Here's the other fun part. You wanna line it up. That's not right. That's how it goes. So we're gonna line it up. And you could secure it over here with a piece of tape. I'm just gonna hold it and we're gonna go for it. just trying to ink this back up. Really juicy. Okay, and I want this to come in here. So I'm just holding it. If you use a Post-it note, you know, it could have the sticky on it. And I'm going to stamp this right in here. And I'm going right over top. And I'm just holding it for a second. I want it to really transfer. And I'm putting some pressure where that mask is. And then we lift up. And there you go. So you can see you've really got to put some pressure here, but that's okay because when we color it in, it'll be fine. So now I think I'm gonna put a leaf in there. So I cleaned this stamp. Again, be very gentle when you're pulling it up. This is a big stamp and it's gonna stay stuck to that block. So just take your time and pull that up. And you could mask your leaf too. I'm just gonna stamp a couple in there. Juicy, juicy. And I'm okay that this went over top because when I color it, it's going to be just fine. But I want some more fall colors in there. Okay. And I'm going to try to get going on this coloring so that we're not here. I try to keep it right at an hour. I know it's a long time to watch, but I do thank all of you for tuning in when you do. I really enjoy spending this time with you. So I'm gonna wait. We'll choose the greeting that we want to use. We're either gonna do Let's Celebrate You or Thanks a Bunch, so we'll choose that in a minute. Right now, I'm gonna pull my colors in. And I'm going to start on my, I'm going to use Pumpkin Pie for my flowers. I'm going to pull you down just a little bit so you guys can see. Let's make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Not sure if that's close enough, but I'm going to come in with my dark Pumpkin Pie. And I'm just going to add in some dark. And I'm going to do a couple petals at a time. And I'm trying to add color quick. Now this is going to look, like I said, a little different than the watercolored Pumpkin Pie because it's a different media that we're using, a medium, whatever you call it. So I'm just trying to add the really dark color toward the bottom. And some of them back here, I'm going to add a lot more dark. And I'm just kind of going back and forth between the light and the dark. And it will look different depending on which color you choose for your outline as well. So on this one, it's a lot darker because I used that early espresso. And Basic Gray is dark, but it just adds a different, it's just a little bit different dimension. Now I'm gonna make this really dark right here, and this one. And then we have this one back here. And I am coloring it really dark. And I'm going to come back in with my light. Good morning, Dad. Just coloring sunflowers here this morning. Now, if you want it darker, you can go back in once we're done coloring. You can go back in with that dark pumpkin pie and even the light Cajun Craze. So normally I do just one petal at a time, but for time purposes, I'm literally just throwing this color on and then we'll adjust because I want to make sure I get all the color on and get it in. And I like to turn my paper. This is just my preference. Make this one really dark. Because I like to color the direction that the lines go. So, what have you guys been working on in your craft rooms? Are you making Christmas cards yet? Are you doing cards to sell? What can we celebrate with you this week? I feel like my pumpkin pie is running out a little bit here. I don't use this color very often. I don't know if I have another one. We might have two different color sunflowers, which is okay. And you can see I'm not being real particular. I'm just throwing on the light and the dark. And it's not as dark as that watercolored when we use the water painter and the ink pad. So this is going to be a little bit lighter. Let me see if I have another pumpkin pie here. These are old. This is back when we sold them in in separate things. So I do have a backup. Yay! So we'll see how much I can get out of this. So I'm gonna let it sit for a minute. So if I want to come back in here and I want this to be really dark in here, I can come in with the dark and add more dark back in. So I want this around the bottom to be really dark. You know my marker's going out on me. Okay, Jenny's been making fall and Halloween and Christmas cards, and Vicky's doing holiday cards. So we have Cajun Craze, and this is the light. And so here's the color. It looks really brown, right? But you can come in here and add in those dark details that you want. And I'm just going along the edge. I like to go right along the lines and try to make those parts that overlap really pop out. Can you guys see how I did that? So I'm just trying to make these lines really pop. I'm not blending it, I'm not coloring all over the base. I'm just going along these lines that are drawn in. I want to give my flower a little depth. And I'm probably not doing it perfect per the art world, but I think it works well for my flower. I'm just seeing if there's any spots where I want it to be a little darker, especially these ones in the back that get there we go. What do you guys think? So we do not have early espresso. Let me turn this back around here. Flipped it all different ways. We do not have early espresso. We do have soft suede in the blends. It's a little bit different brown, but I'm gonna grab the light, and I'm gonna grab the bronze. So I'm doing light soft suede and bronze. I'm gonna bring that in for my middle, and let's see how it looks. I might not love it, I might, but it might be okay, because I want kind of a lighter brown, so that looks like it's okay. My stamped image is staying intact. I like when the details of the stamp show through. Might not be as dark. You could use dark soft suede. And then I'm gonna take this bronze. So this does not have a light or dark, it's just bronze. And I'm gonna kind of go over this middle. And you can even do the dotting, which I just taught that class in blends. We had a fun time learning about how to apply that. So I'm just dotting on my color. It's a great way to add in the color and then spread it out, and it gives lots of fun texture. But doing that light soft suede first helps me have an undercoat on there that it actually affects that next color you put on. So I don't, like I said, I'm not a trained artist, so I don't know all those ins and outs, but I have watched plenty of videos from artists, and that's what they talk about. And so I like how that looks and how it comes out, and you still get the texture. And these two colors will blend. They will blend together. Even though this doesn't have a light or a dark, you can still use it with the other colors to add in. You could even use it on here to create shadows. Neutrals are great colors to help add in shadows. So if you want your sunflower to be darker, you could color it yellow and then add your orange on top. You could color it all pumpkin pie and then add in your Cajun Craze or even Calypso Coral. Calypso Coral is an orangey pink, but when they layer, it looks different. So don't be afraid to test everything out and try it. Now I'm gonna do a leaf, And actually, I want my leaf to be a little bit orange. So I am just throwing some pumpkin pie, dark pumpkin pie on there. And then I'm gonna come in with my Cajun Craze. And these leaves that I picked up, they had a lot of brown in them. And I might need to change it up a little bit. Might add some yellow on top of there. And then here's our dark Cajun Craze. And you're gonna see this is a completely different color. I love it. I love this color compared to the light Cajun Craze. But I'm just throwing some color on there. I've used this for sunflowers as well. So it has that nice dark orange fall leaf look. And if you want to lighten it up, I'm gonna grab my dark soft seafoam and add that right on top. Let's just see what it looks like. Don't be afraid to play and see how it turns out. What do you guys think so far? I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the blue here in a minute. But first, I want to get some more color on. I'm trying to decide if I want to go back in with my dark pumpkin pie on this and make it even darker. Maybe we'll make this one darker since it's behind. So I'm going to use more dark, and I might have to open my new one. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm really going to just color it. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm going to let this marker, I'm going to stand it up and try to drain all that fluid down to the bottom so I can use every bit of it. And I'm going to go ahead and open a new one. Oh yeah, that's a lot darker. So I'm really making this one a lot darker, and I'll probably use the Cajun Craze on it as well. And again, usually I do petal by petal or like a couple petals at a time, but since we're kind of in a, on a time crunch for video wise, not sure where that petal went, but we're just going to make it in there. Okay, now let's go back with the light. And I did bring a new light over because this one might be dying on me too. So what is your most used blend color if you like to color with blends? Just curious. I try to use all of mine, but I will definitely tell you, like this orange and or this pumpkin pie, I don't use that much, and I don't use the really bright pinks a lot, and I need to use them more. Jenny says Old Olive, Balmy Blue and Old Olive. You know what's funny is there for a while, I didn't hardly ever use Balmy Blue, and it's such a gorgeous color. No idea why I was ignoring it, but I was. You notice I didn't put any dark on those yet. That's okay. I'm going to come back in with my dark now and really darken it up. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but I am literally just scribbling. I'm not worried about it being really perfect, or I just want the color on there. And I don't really love how that turned out, but I think it's okay. I think it'll be okay. So if you want to blend that back out, I just go in where I see kind of hard lines and try to blend it out a little bit. I want everything to be colored. Okay. Oh yeah, I love Calypso Coral. As you know, Vicki, that was part of our class. So I'm just coloring my leaves again, and I want them to be mostly that real dark Calypso Coral, but I want to add in some of these colors too. So this is So Saffron, and I'm literally just throwing it on there. I think I just went out of the lines. It's okay. I'm not worried about that. And I'm gonna come in with the dark Cajun Craze. I haven't used that light yet, but I like, this is more of an orangey, what I would consider fall. It's not bright, but I do like it. Oh, look, I forgot a petal right there. And I'm just layering that color on. You could dot it on. You can do whatever. Now I'm going to use the light, So Saffron, and try to blend this a little. It's not going to be perfect. They're very different colors. So it's just going to lighten that leaf a little bit. And add a little pop of that fun yellow color in to your fall leaf. Hi Shirley, that's okay. We'll be on, it'll be posted when I'm done, so feel free to catch it later. Thanks for stopping in. So I need to do my middle. I'm gonna come in with that saffron, sorry about that, soft suede color. And I want to create a line in here so it looks like a little definition. And I'm going to dot on this bronze color and just really darken that as much as I can. So who has tried dot coloring? Just curious if anyone's tried it. It's really a term for the crafting, like the card making world. It's called stippling in the art world, I believe. But I like to use lots of little dots to color in things. And you've seen me do it before, but I just love adding that texture. So blends obviously blend. They don't always, if you get them really close, they don't stay as the little dots. You could add some stippling in with your Stampin' Write marker if you wanted some things that didn't blend. So let's see, I'm actually gonna bring over, that's just bothering me too much. So I'm gonna grab my Early Espresso marker And I am just gonna draw some lines in here like they stamped. And you can take this marker and stipple just like you're doing with your other markers. It just does not blend. So see, it just doesn't blend there. It just bugged me that that didn't stamp. So we'll just add in our own details. That's okay. Now on this one, it came out a lot darker. I didn't really go in and add all those things that we added on this one back in. I didn't use the Calypso Coral, and that's okay. So now, I didn't really use the yellow a lot either, but that's okay. I want to show you what I'm going to do with this blue. So I want this to be a nice, vibrant card. So I am going to outline all the way around my images with this dark Misty Moonlight. I'm just going all the way around my images. And yes, it's dark. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. You guys have seen me do this with other colors, but I want to add this really beautiful blue to my card. I'm just making a thin line all the way around. And it can really be as thick as you want. If you want it really thin, if you'd like it a little bit thicker, but I'm going to use a different color here in a minute. I'm going to use that light, and this is why I didn't care that I went out of the lines, because I knew I didn't care about those colors spreading. Put that down in there, put some blue in here. When I think of fall, I think of fun, crisp colors. I mean, you also have, you know, browns and your leaves are dying, but there's these fun, crisp colors. So I wanted to bring some of this blue in. And really, even though I've simple stamped this and I layered it by masking, this card has some dimension to it. That masking helped create that. So I'm going to use the light Misty Moonlight now, and I'm going to dot that on right over top where I went with the dark. And you could do another thin line if you wanted. I want a little bit of texture, so I'm just doing the dots. Now, if I was watercoloring, I wouldn't do dots because that just doesn't, you can, if you're using the watercolor pencils, you can, but with the water painter, it doesn't quite come out the same. So I'm just trying to create a dark outline. I'm just tapping onto my paper. And as you can see, the dark Misty Moonlight is very different from the light Misty Moonlight, and that's okay. It's going to end up blending, and as it dries, just let the color kind of develop and see. You can always go back and add in more. So this doesn't have a lot of bright colors. If you wanted to add a bright color, which you'll see when I show my bouquet, it actually has more of a Bermuda Bay color. just grab Bermuda Bay. If you like that color, you don't want these dark blues, grab a fun, bright color that you like and add it in with your oranges. I love Bermuda Bay with the pumpkin pie. Another thing you could do if you wanted to add depth between your petals, like this background color's coming through, you can trace that line with this color. It's completely allowed. Have fun. Definitely have fun, especially these cards. Sometimes they're a little bit quicker. I know we talked a little bit more today, but if I was making this just on my own, I would finish this pretty quick because it's just a simple stamped card, and I could honestly do it on my Stamparatus and stamp this and then mask it and then stamp this one and make a lot of quick cards, especially for fall if you like fall. Okay, so that's my Misty Moonlight, and I just noticed I need, this needs a little color down here. So don't be afraid to adjust. If you notice once you start filling things in, oh wow, that needs more color, then just go grab that color and add it in. Okay, so now I'm gonna use Balmy Blue. So I'm gonna use the dark Balmy Blue first, and I'm just kind of going around. I'm not dotting. I'm just doing little lines. You can dot again if you want. I'm going to dot with the next color. But I want some of this to blend a little bit, so I'm doing all kinds of different coloring techniques here. Just go with it. If you don't like it, you can come back and do dots. But I just wanted to come out a little bit from that Misty Moonlight. So what do you guys think so far? I love doing simple things and then adding an outline that just helps the extra color. What do you guys think? I think that blue makes that pumpkin pie pop, and it gives it dimension. Thank you, Vicki. So now I'm going to come in with that light Balmy Blue. And I'm just going to add a bunch of dots, and I'm going a little bit into those other colors, but I do like that texture that the dots give. It's like it just fades a little bit into the white space of your card. So I'm going right over top of where I put that darker Balmy Blue, and so you can't even tell that I didn't dot that on. So the closer you put your dots, the more it's going to blend and look solid. And then as you move away from that solid part, you can dot. Now, to me, this looks like if you were to splatter, you could do that with your marker. You could color solid lines and then splatter, or even mask it and stamp your splatter. I just like to do this. This is relaxing to me. You could have dot colored the sunflowers and left parts of them white and uncolored. We learned that in my blends class this past week. I love coloring that way. I will warn you though, this type of coloring can get very addicting. It's just so, to me, it's so therapeutic, and I love the effects, but you got to be careful. It can make your wrist sore. So, and you're going to bring that blue up as far as you want. So if you want it to be really thick, you can do it really thick. If you want it to be a thinner line, then feel free to adjust how you're doing that. But I love when my color bleeds into my white space, but it's not a hard line. And I feel like the dots can definitely do that. Now, if I was watercoloring, I would try to just fade that line as best as I can. Now, on this type of paper, that can be a little bit harder to do because the color doesn't move the same. But if you're using watercolor paper, and if you're using watercolor pencils, you can stipple on those dots. You just want to be real careful with your tips. And I'm using what I call the bullet tip, the thinner side of my blends. If you use your brush to do this, it will spread. Your brush spreads out. It's a lot looser tip, and you just need to be careful with it. So I'm not being too rough, but I wouldn't say I'm super gentle either. And depending on how long you leave your marker there, that depends on how big your dots are. So there we go. What do you guys think? I love it myself. I love this. So I know we're a little bit past 10, so I'm gonna try to finish this real quick. And so just to give you an idea, I picked this neutral because I wanted that finished piece to pop off of that card. If I mounted this onto white, it would still look great, but you wouldn't have quite the pop as you do when you put it on a neutral. Now you could even go as far to add in, you could use a base of the blue. That would look beautiful, but your blue background wouldn't pop quite as much. So that's just something to think about and play with. Grab all the colors if you want to look at different bases and check them out. And what I mean, let me see if I have one over here. Let me just grab a couple colors here. So these are two other colors that I used, right? So if you were to put this on blue, that pumpkin pie really pops, but you kind of, your blue kind of blends in. So it depends on the effect that you want to have in the end. This is cinnamon cider. So wow, look at that. Your flowers kind of go more into blending into your base, your background, and then that blue is very vibrant. But when you pick a totally different color, a different neutral that you didn't use in your piece, then all your colors just feel like they're coming off the page. So that's just something to think about when you're deciding what you want to do. And none of it is the wrong way. It depends on what you want your finished card to look like. So I need a couple answers so we can quickly finish this card. We're going to stamp and then fussy cut around that because I want those colors to still pop off the page, and I don't want to color them up very much. So we're going to stamp it and then use our scissors to cut really close to the words. Now this piece for the inside, I may finish it and stick it on the inside, and then I'll post a picture because I don't want to keep you guys too long this morning, even though I love crafting with you. I am going to, I don't want you to sit and watch me color, but I can stamp this little sunflower and do the same coloring technique and then adhere it on the inside. So I'll do that off camera and post a picture, just because it will take me a little bit of time to color that, and I don't want you guys to sit here and just watch me color, even though I like to do it. You might not like to watch. Okay, so let's celebrate you or thanks a bunch. And I'm going to stamp in early espresso. If you really wanted your sentiment to pop, your greeting, you could stamp in the Misty Moonlight and then cut around it too. So I know I'm still zoomed way in. That's okay. I think you guys can see what I'm doing. I'll try to pull it up just a bit. So as you know, we only have less than 2 weeks of celebration left. Today is the 18th. Celebration ends on the 30th. And I want to make sure you guys don't miss any of the special offers or things that you can get. So some things have sold out. I believe one of the papers has sold out. Everything that's in that celebration brochure is while supplies last. Those things retire, they're exclusive, they're gone after September 30th. So don't miss something that you want to get if you're ready to place an order. I'd love to help you if you need my help with an order and you don't have a demonstrator. You can message me. You can shop at bethroy.stampinup.net and you click Shop Now. This is my September host code if you have an order less than $150. And the other offer I want to make sure you don't miss, I don't want you guys to miss this, is the starter kit offer. So the starter kit does not mean you're building a business, you do Facebook Lives. It does not mean that. It means that, number one, you want to become a demonstrator, you want to be on the inside, you want to know what's going on first before everyone else, and you want a discount. Some people use that platform to build a business. Some people just use it to get their wish list and make cards, sell cards, whatever you want to do. But right now, until September 30th, if you join my team, Stampin' Up! Is running a bonus bundle. So one of these 9 bundles, or 12 bundles, excuse me, you can pick one of these 12 bundles from the July to December mini, in addition to the $125 you're picking in your kit. You pick your kit. You pick all the items in your kit. You also get a free paper pumpkin and a business supply pack that Stampin' Up! Just throws in there. So it's 99 bucks plus tax. It's a wonderful deal, and I don't want you guys to miss it. So if you have questions about that, I'm going to host a Q&A next week because I don't want you to not pick that offer because you have a question and you didn't want to ask. You can private message me. I want to make sure you have all of that info before you miss that opportunity. Okay, I have a thanks a bunch. Okay, so thanks a bunch is the only one I saw. So I'm sorry if you commented and I didn't see it, but I see thanks a bunch. So we're going to stamp that. And I'm going to stamp that in the early espresso. And just remember, if you know somebody that has a fall birthday, this would be a great card for them too. You don't have to, I mean, obviously if you make Thanksgiving cards or fall themes, you know, something that you host, maybe you host a friend's, what do they call that? Friends Thanksgiving. This would be cute for place settings. And I'm not worried if this is straight. I'm just stamping it, and my ink pad's really juicy, so I want to be careful that I don't smear that. Toss this over here. I'm going to let that dry just for a sec. Sometimes when you have these darker colors, if you touch it right away, especially when they're juicy, you're going to smear it. So I'm going to adhere this, and then I'm going to come back and cut that. So grab my, oops. Glue here. I'm throwing things everywhere. I hope you guys have loved this card. If you loved it, don't forget to give me the hearts and let me know what you think about it. And if you want to share with your friends, maybe they're interested in stamping. Maybe they've never made a handmade card. Maybe they've been making them for years. I would love it if you shared my video with them. So if you share, please let me know that you shared. Facebook has these new privacy settings, and it does not always allow me to see who shared my video. So if you share, please let me know, because sometimes it'll tell me 3 people shared, and I can't actually see who those people were. And I just realized I did not post my August winners. And here we are halfway through September. I'm so sorry for my delay in that. I will be doing that and posting something on the page to let you know who won. So I'm just going to, let me cut some of this off. No, Joe, sorry. My husband's outside painting, and my son's going out underneath the bucket. Hey, you can't go out that way. No, we'll be under Daddy's bucket. You can't go out there. Okay? Okay, thank you. Stay right in here. Okay, I'm sorry about that. My husband's painting with a lift, and my son was about to walk out our basement and go under that lift. So I had to stop him really quick. So I'm just cutting along this. Okay. And then I'm going to curve it a little bit. And I have to admit, I'm not a perfect fussy cutter. I do my best, and I think it turns out okay. But I'm still working on those turns and, you know, that whole science of making it look smooth. And I probably got a little too close to that. Making it look nice and smooth. But I'm learning, I'm practicing, so that's okay. I'm sure I'm taking my own advice here, and I'm just practicing. I'm sure if I practiced more, I would have much smoother lines, but I think it works for me. So by doing that, you can still see a majority of my picture, and it's not hidden by my big greeting. So I love doing this. Now I could have stamped up here and just stamped right onto that colored thing, and those dots would have still shown just fine, but I wanted just a little 3D element down here. So I'm going to use some mini dimensionals. Thank you, Miss Vicki. And I'm going to pop up that greeting. And I might need to cut a little piece to fit in there. Let's see, make sure that's not going to show. Let's see if this fits down here. Oh, it does fit. Lucky me. So I'm just going to pop that up on there like that. Oh, I hope you guys, I hope if you have this set, you give this a try. Give it some love. I know mine's been sitting on my shelf, and I've been thinking about fall cards and what I can use, and I always just immediately go to leaves and pumpkins. But sunflowers are excellent. So I'm just going to pop that on there. So there you go. And I will do the inside off camera and then post some pictures. So what do you guys think? Everybody ready to try some one-layer cards and masking and use these fun techniques? If you use the watercolor pencils, you can get the same effect. It'll just take a little bit longer because they don't work just like the blends, and the tips are smaller. So you can still stipple or dot color, that's what we call it, or that's what I've heard it called in the card making world. Everybody says dot coloring. So thank you so much for joining me. I know, Jenny, he misses you and Vicki too. I am positive. You know, Mom's crafting friends. He's very used to seeing you guys when you guys come to craft, and it has been a little bit different without our entertainment. So this was my card that I watercolored the pieces and cut them out and added in a bunch of different things to create that fall look. I'm going to point the camera up though so I can show you my bouquet. And then here's our card that we made together. I wanted to show you how you could make a one-layer vibrant card. And I hope you've enjoyed this. So let me grab my bouquet, and then I'm going to point you up and show you this beautiful thing that I bought. That I threw together. People probably think I'm crazy when I shop, but I ran through the store throwing this together and just had so much fun. So, thank you, thank you. Don't forget to give me those hearts. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this up, and I gotta turn myself around so I'm not upside down. There we go. Hey, you guys have never seen me at the end. So I'm just trying to get my camera up here. Okay, so this was the bouquet that I ran through Hobby Lobby putting together. See my little wheat in there, those little fun flowers that I don't know if that's a dahlia, but it looks like it. I'm not sure. This reminds me of a hydrangea, but I just wanted the color. And then it has all these fall leaves in there. It has berries. There's even some pine cones. There's little branches. And I just love this color. Now, I have not tried watercoloring with the Bermuda Bay, but this is me. This is the colors that I love. So I wanted to have a lot of fun, and I got this little milk jug to throw them all in. So it was super, super fun. And that was my inspiration for my bird card. Obviously there's no bird in there, but I love birds. So I threw that in there too. So have fun creating cards and throwing in whatever you love and that makes sense to you. So have a wonderful Saturday, you guys. And I will see you soon. Hopefully this week I'm gonna do some Facebook Lives during lunch. So I hope you can join me. Stay tuned for those and have a wonderful day.